Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz Interview Series with celebrated Southern California jazz pianist, bandleader, and producer Lisa Hilton on the brand new 2021 CD, Transparent Sky. It includes a power lineup, and we discuss this release along with what's been going on in this COVID world, and we discuss hope for the future of live shows and as we move forward. It's a great conversation. Enjoy.
The good thing is that from the last time we spoke, at least we have some kind of level of knowing where we're going and hopefully how we're going to get out of this COVID nightmare that I think all of us have been kind of going through in a variety of different ways. And you have a brand new album that's come out with a power lineup of musicians, Transparent Sky. So first and foremost, what does it feel like to have material out during this very lean time leading up to it of no live music?
Well, I think that it did show up in the music. There's a lot of movement in the music, which I wasn't really aware that I was composing in that way. But then in retrospect, I thought, oh, of course there's a lot of movement because, most of us have just been, in some variation of lockdown I was composing this, I guess, like last fall to last March. And that was a very difficult time in the world. We weren't going out and doing much at that time. So I think it kind of showed up in the music, like there's a lot of action, there's a lot of movement. I want you to feel good when you listen to this because that was the opposite of what was going on at the time.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. And I think the conversation that you three had on this album, how do you feel that went for you? I mean, did you feel good and solid about how the communication was happening during the actual construction of the project?
Oh, yeah. The first album that we did just a few months after the pandemic began, we were really nervous. That was More Than Another Day, which came out last year. In 2020, the end of 2020. We were nervous. We were just to be in the studio. We had to basically do backflips and, there were so many protocols because nobody knew at that time how it was really being spread. And so, in the beginning, there was a lot of unusual things that were being asked of people, and we were very nervous, and we sat at different tables for lunch. I just felt like it was the opposite of feeling like a band. But this year, we were in the studio post-vaccines, and everyone, is more comfortable dealing with what we have to deal with. And I think that we really wanted to play. It made me feel like a normal person to be able to play again, even though it was a studio to an audience of 2 engineers, but it still felt great. I think there is, any musician right now, there's this kind of pent-up feeling that we would like to be able to express ourselves. There's just not a lot of opportunity. Things are opening up, but when we do get to play, it feels great.
And speaking of, how is that happening? Kind of what's happening now? What do you see the roadmap for things kind of opening up and for more opportunities to actually do this live?
In a tour, I might sound more like a business person here. So the tour is kind of in 3 different parts. There's, you have to set up an event 6 months to a year in advance. We were booked at Carnegie Hall in November. That was set up a year in advance. So there's a lot of pre-planning that has to go in. And we don't have x-ray vision. We're not quite sure. How is it going to be in November? That's a guess. So there's trying to guess ahead. And then, of course, there's, the preparation of the materials. It takes a little bit of time to put on a tour. So you can't cram overnight for a show. You have to practice a little ahead of time. So again, those things have to be planned ahead of time. And then will people show up? Even if you have a show, even if it feels, relatively safe, and even if, everyone's available to put that show on, will the audience show up? And so there's still a lot of questions there. I noticed Broadway starting to open up, and Carnegie Hall is opening up this month, and so we're going to see how those first Village Vanguard opened up this week. So we'll see, there's all those different parts to it. So you can, it's not like the Field of Dreams. If you open up, people will show up for your show. We don't know that yet.
Yeah, but I think there's a level of the world right now that's embracing a lot of different aspects between if the masks, between vaccinations that are obviously increasing, I think, based on everything that's going on, and just, levels of herd immunity. There's parts of this that I think hopefully we all just get over. Like I know in Kansas City, I've gone to shows. I've seen people at shows, and I think that people are starving for this, and I think people are going to do what they need to do to get out there. And I think probably performers need to understand, and I hope you do understand, that there is going to be an extra level of appreciation, and I think people will arrive. And there may be a new crop of people. It could be one of the reasons why jazz and other genres of music become more and more relevant, whether it's blues, jazz, folk, whatever it is. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to come out there and replace those that may not want to go anymore.
Yeah, and it feels so good. I listened to a lot of jazz when we were locked down, a lot, and it just felt really good. And I like all different kinds of music, but it just felt, uplifting. I think jazz has always felt that way to me. That's very uplifting. So that's what I want to convey in the music. Well, I'm hearing different things. I heard one guy went out in San Francisco, said the club was full and he felt unsafe. And then I heard somebody else went out to a club in Los Angeles and he said he felt very safe because the place had high ceilings. So I think, because I have to plan a little further in advance, I'm going to wait. You can decide, do I want to go to a show tomorrow as an audience? But as, getting the band together and music and traveling, then we have to plan a little further ahead. So I'm looking at maybe springtime in 2022. I really, like I said, we had planned to go out in November of this year, and it was still a little hazy when we were trying to make those plans. So the venues weren't open yet, and a little bit more experimental. So we'll see how it goes. I think it'll feel incredible to be up on stage and to perform music, and I do think people will love it.
Yeah, I think so. During this time of reflection, we kind of touched on a lot of these during the infancy of this pandemic, but I think now that we've had a lot of time that's passed, lots of things have changed dramatically since that early go. This was a big mirror for a lot of people. Lots of people had more time with themselves, and I think we figure out a lot of things. What did you learn about yourself during this time that maybe you didn't know before or realize before that's going to make you stronger as you reemerge?
The way I seem to process difficulties or pain or grief, whatever you want to touch on there, as an individual, we can't make that better. But I think the way I personally process it is that I need to create something beautiful. Like if I can create something that will uplift people, I can't change what happened, but somehow in the measurement inside, it feels that helps. There's a feeling of relief that maybe I've been able to relieve that. Maybe that will help somebody else. Maybe that will try and lift the spirits of our world right now. So the last year and a half has been, pretty prolific for me because I've had a lot of material. I had a girlfriend ask, does it get better for you if there's difficult things going on in the world? And I said, yes, I think so. I think I can be very creative when there's difficult times. And I don't think I'm alone. I think that is how a lot of people react to difficulties. So that's why there's so many, love breakup songs, right? Because the pain of that love, that breakup, that's easy to put into music because there's a strong emotional experience that's going on. There's been a whole bunch of that the last year and a half, but I would be happy if things calmed down. But creatively, it's been a very rich time. The other thing I noticed is that this time feels a little familiar to me because I grew up in a small town where it seemed like nothing ever happened and we never seemed to go anywhere. And so I think that's why I became so very creative person, because I was always trying to entertain myself. So as we go through this, the different stages of the lockdown, it has reminded me of growing up. And that was my experience then, is to, if things are a little quiet, you can always be creative. So that's always been the thing I relied on and leaned on.
The one thing I think that's probably very key to this is I heard someone mention that, no matter what during this time, musicians have made music, and what's going to start coming out is going to be incredible. And I think that's one of the silver linings. And I think that's been the thing about this time. As bad as it's been, there's been a lot of silver linings. A lot of musicians have had to learn things, whether it's production skills or marketing or PR, or, doing things that they never did before. So my question to you is this. As someone that's very firmly planted in the jazz community, how do you see the jazz community overall reemerging stronger and more powerful than before?
I think that you're right, a lot of new skills that are being developed, whether it's recording in your bathroom, or learning how to live stream, or putting on patio concerts. There's a lot of different things that have come out. I think you have to be a very hearty individual to be a jazz musician. And anyone connected with jazz, we're all in it for the love of it. And so I think that you have very, just, across the board, very tenacious and strong and spiritually oriented people with a lot of skills that have just, okay, so this is another tough time, or a different tough time, and we'll take it in stride. But I see that definitely. I love seeing the creativity that people have used to, help alleviate this time or work with it. I really believe in everyone associated with jazz. It's not an easy path, so everyone has really good coping skills. I think we will be stronger too, and I think you're right. The audience is going to just love to get out and feel that, live music again. It'll be amazing.
Yeah, it will. That's such a great answer. Lisa, it's always a joy to talk with you, to get your wisdom and insight, and I hope the next time we speak, we can say, hey, this is where we're at. This is the end of the pandemic, and it's a different time. So good luck with the album. Good luck with the return to the stage, and I look forward to the next conversation.
Oh, thanks so much, Joe.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Southern California, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Lisa for always being a beacon of light in the world of jazz, and for catching up with the show. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.